Hi everybody, Lawyer Autumn Whit Boyd here. I'm glad to be here today. If you are here live, please say hello, drop a comment or an emoji, let me know you're watching. It is Wednesday, April 15th when I am recording this, so I have a little bit of an update on the Paycheck Protection Program loans and the EIDL, the Economic Impact Disaster Loan, Economic Injury. It's been a long week. How those two loans play together. I have a little update about that and some rumors about the availability of funds for both of these loans. And I'm going to share a little preview of some really essential information that I think you need to know about protecting your business during COVID-19. And I'll start by saying it is sunny here in Chattanooga. It's been really nice weather after we had terrible tornadoes on Easter Sunday. And so I'm feeling a little bit lighter. I'm feeling a little bit more inspired to do new things in my own business. And I hope that you are starting to feel the same too. For us, we've been out of school now a couple weeks. We had a spring break week and we're kind of back in the swing of things. I feel like we are settling into this is, I hate to call it the new normal, but this is just the way things are going to be for a bit. And I feel like we still vacillate a little bit back and forth, but that we've I'm in resignation or acceptance or whatever stage of grief that is. This is how it's going to be for a bit. And so I'm just trying to move forward and do the best I can. So if that sounds like you, stay tuned for some information I'm going to share in just a bit after I go through the update about the loans. So I received an email from the SBA yesterday about how the two forgivable portions of these loans are going to work if you apply for both. So this really only matters if you are applying for both the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, which is through the SBA, and the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, which is through your bank or another local lender. So if you apply for both of those, there is a forgivable option under both loans, and they're basically saying you can't double dip. So if you apply for the cash advance under the EIDL, again, that's the one through the SBA, that cash advance can be up to $10,000 depending on how many employees you have. It's $1,000 per employee up to $10,000 cash advance within some sort of quick time after you file your application. It has not been the 3 days that was initially promised. But if you apply for that cash advance, that is forgivable. So you will not have to pay that back. If you also apply for the PPP, which is forgivable up to a cap of 2.5 times your average monthly payroll, they're going to basically subtract your EIDL advance from that forgivable portion. So your forgivable portion, if you are applying for both of these loans, is going to be that 2.5 times your payroll cap. You can't get that 2.5 times your monthly payroll forgivable and the forgivable up to $10,000. They're going to kind of subtract one from the other, so you're not going to be able to double dip. I hope that makes sense. I had gotten a lot of questions about that. If you could, get both of those forgivable portions of the loan, and the answer is yes, you can, but they're going to kind of subtract one from the other, so you can't really get both forgivable. So I hope that makes sense. If you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or send them to me in a DM or an email. Happy to fill you in on that. I'm still getting questions about for self-employed people, how do we prove our income? What number do we use for our own compensation as we're applying for a PPP loan? I was hoping we were going to get guidance from SBA, but we have not. And what I have learned just anecdotally is that this is kind of differing bank by bank. So some banks are not allowing owners to file for their own comp at all. Some are using their Schedule C from the last tax return. So that's if you're an LLC, a single member LLC, or an S Corp, you typically are going to file a Schedule C that's going to show your profit for your company. So that is what they are using. Typically, I have heard for the owner's compensation. If, like me, you have not yet filed your 2019 tax return because the deadline was extended, then they may use other documents. I filed my profit and loss statement. There may be other documents that they ask for. I've heard other business owners who used their actual draws, so what they actually paid themselves, not just the net profit number. Your bank may ask for different things. It's hard to say. Banks are using kind of their own guidelines here. So check with your bank and see what documentation they want and then give it to them. That's the best way you can make sure your loan is approved as quickly as possible. Update on my loan, I still have not heard. I had to submit additional documents last, I think Tuesday or Thursday, it's all a blur, and have not heard an update about whether they've been accepted. I also heard a rumor, I do not know if this is true, but I read it on the Wall Street Journal website, that the PPP program is running out of money today, Wednesday, April 15th. Again, I don't know if that is true. I would hope they wouldn't report on something that wasn't at least somewhat substantiated. Congress is working on negotiating an additional funding for this program. So I think that will come through, but we don't know how soon. And I do know that the banks have been totally overloaded and the SBA by processing all of these applications. So if you've already filled out your application, hang in there, follow up with your banker if you can. I have heard some people are getting funded already, so that is good news. But there is certainly a huge backlog of people like me who have submitted their documents and have not yet heard anything. There's others who've been approved but have not received their money yet. So hang in there. A question I received also was about, since this money is not coming through quickly for a lot of us, what happens if you do need to lay people off because you just cannot make payroll, but you've applied for the PPP? So the way that is going to work is you can go ahead and lay people off or furlough them. The difference between those is if you furlough them, they're technically still an employee. You can keep them on any benefits. So if they have health insurance or other benefits with your company, you could keep them on those, but you're just not paying them their salary, and they should not be working for you. If you've laid people off or furloughed them, they should not be working if you have let them go. And then they can file a claim with their state for unemployment benefits. If you are doing a huge layoff in your company, there's a way you can kind of do a mass unemployment claim. You submit a form to the state. So definitely check into that if you are doing a round of layoffs. But for some companies, that may be a better option than trying to keep people on payroll that you really can't afford. They may be able to get more on unemployment than you can pay them anyway. So, because there's now extra federal money in addition to the normal state benefits. So if you have to do that, you can still apply for the PPP. And there are rules that as long as you bring them back by a date in June, then you can still get that payroll forgivable. So you will have to bring them back, but it's okay if you have to lay them off, in the interim before you actually get your money. Hopefully we'll all have it by June. And then that PPP will provide you 8 weeks of payroll to, bring them back and start paying them again. I don't know what's going to happen after that 8 weeks. I know for a lot of businesses, the 8 weeks is great that we can pay employees, but if you're totally shut down and you have no revenue coming in, 8 weeks is not really going to get you back up and running if you still don't have any customers. So I do kind of wonder if then we'll see another round of layoffs unless there is more money put into the system. So I did a webinar last week for a local lawyers group here in Chattanooga, and the friend who was hosting the webinar asked me to look at my crystal ball at what I see coming. And that's kind of what I see. I do hope that there is more funding and that there may be some changes in which businesses are eligible. There may be larger businesses that are available that now are not eligible since we've got that 500 employee cap. So we'll see. I do not have a crystal ball. I do know that the Senate and House are both negotiating the next kind of round of aid, and hopefully it will come sooner rather than later for small business owners. Okay, so that is kind of my PPP EIDL loan update. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about is something I'm seeing, as I mentioned at the beginning. I feel like a lot of us have kind of reached the end of the internet or have watched as much Netflix as we really can. We are, if not bored, if our business has significantly slowed down and we're kind of in our new routine, whether that's homeschooling, whether that's taking care of family or doing other things, we maybe have gotten to the point where our spirits are lifted a little bit and we're ready to kind of get back to work, whatever that looks like. And so for some, it looks like moving a brick and mortar business online. So looking at what you could teach or what you could sell online since your brick and mortar business is closed. For others, it looks like maybe pivoting to a new offer. So maybe you have sold one thing, but you have seen how your skills could really help in another way with something that's come up in COVID-19. So I've seen this, for instance, with people who are in the health and wellness industry. So maybe they were, a health and nutrition coach previously, but now they're really focused on immunity building or something like that, because it's super relevant and people are searching for that right now. Or maybe you were a parenting coach and now you're shifting and you're really helping people with homeschooling, since that's something a lot of parents are dealing with. So I see a lot of people kind of making new offers, shifting, pivoting. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And that's really exciting. That encourages me that people are seeing actual need. They're not being sleazy or scummy about it, but they're seeing where people are looking for things, and that if they can fill that hole, that's wonderful. So a couple things legally that I want you to think about if you are doing that. If you have a new offer, if you're pivoting, if you're moving a brick and mortar business online, 3 things that I'll mention quickly. The first one is, this is a great time to just look at the back end of your business, and especially if you're starting something new, and just make sure you have all of those foundational elements in place. So making sure that your corporate entity is set up the right way, making sure that you have the right contracts for the things that you're doing, making sure that there is a privacy policy on your website, especially if you're planning on doing any social media advertising. That is going to be absolutely required. So all of those things, just kind of double checking your systems, your processes legally, to make sure that you are kind of have the right foundation to do the new thing that you're wanting to do. The second thing I want you to do, especially if you maybe were doing one-on-one client work and you're shifting to a digital offer, or you're moving from courses to a group program, or if you're offering something new, I just want to let you know that the contracts that you were using with your customers or your terms of use may not be a good fit for your new offer. So I want you to read through your contract and make sure that it actually works. And if it doesn't, the good news is, I've mentioned before, we just launched our new website and we have marked all of our contract templates off 40%. There's no code. You just go there. They're all marked down 40%. You'll see it in your cart when you go to checkout. And that includes our new bundles. So let's say maybe you are moving your brick and mortar business and you're starting an online course. Maybe you were a music teacher. You did in-person music lessons and now you're doing online, you're going to do a guitar course that lots of people could buy rather than one-on-one teaching. You may not have any legal support for that online course. I'm so delighted to tell you we have bundles that will give you kind of everything you need for your new business. So go check those out. It's if you go to the link below, this is our COVID-19 guide, but you can get to our contract templates very easily from that link. And if you haven't already, grab our checklist, our 10-step checklist, which is just kind of, again, if we're looking at the foundational things that you need to have in place for your online business, that checklist is going to walk you through every single one of them. What I consider the most important as you're just getting started, or as you're thinking about a new offer, you may have to think about some of these things that maybe you thought about when you first started your business and you haven't thought about them in a while. So go get that checklist. That's on the front page of our website at the very bottom. You can get that checklist right there. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is I am not seeing as many people wanting to register their copyrights or register their trademarks, but a lot of people are still worried about protecting their rights in these new things that they're creating. So what can you think about doing there? This is a great time to look at all of your content and make sure that you have notices. So you may have heard me talk about this before. They're not required under the law, but they're a really good idea. So anytime you have something you consider a trademark, so that could be a logo, it could be the name of a course, the name of a product, it could be your business name, anything that kind of identifies the brand, you want to let people know you consider it a trademark. And that's by using that little TM symbol. You can only use the R in a circle if you have actually registered it with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. But just using the TM is a great way to let people know, I consider this a trademark. So, hands off, back off. So this is a great time if you've got worksheets or if you have online course materials, if you've got videos or a website or landing pages, make sure that you're using that TM symbol everywhere that you're using that trademark. You don't have to use it in every single place, but if it's like in the header of the website or, on the front page of a worksheet or a workbook or an ebook or a downloadable, all the places where you're using that as a trademark, as your brand, now is a great time to kind of do an audit, go through your materials, make sure that you're using that. And that's a great first step to protect your brand. Again, we may not have the budget right now to be registering these things. Maybe time to start thinking about it. But just doing that notice is going to get you a little bit of extra protection. And the same thing for your copyrights. So your copyrights are going to protect your actual content. So the videos or the worksheets or your other educational materials in your course or in your blog, on your website. I want you to make sure you have a copyright notice. So again, not required by law, but this is going to be the little C in a circle. It doesn't have to be registered for you to use that C in a circle. And then you're going to want to put the year that it was first published or first kind of offered to the world, and either your name or your business name, whoever owns the copyrights. And then I like to include something like all rights reserved or no copying without permission, or whatever rules you have around people using your stuff. Again, not required, but a really good practice to let people know, hey, I'm claiming the copyright in this, so please do not copy it. And if they do, then they cannot claim, oh, I had no idea that you thought this was copyrighted, or I had no idea you thought you owned the rights in this. It just gives you a little bit of extra protection. And it's a really easy, simple thing that you can do now. It doesn't cost anything, but it is going to help you protect your intellectual property. So I am going to wrap up there. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I am happy to be helpful. If you think you need a contract template and you go in our shop and you're not sure which one is right for you, shoot us a DM, send me an email, use our contact form on the website. We're happy to help you make sure that you get the right contract for you. We don't want you to be confused or not sure what you need. And let us know what you think about the new website. We find it a lot easier to shop and easier to search for things, but I'm glad to get your feedback as well. So again, go to the link below if you are needing COVID-19 resources, and you can get to our contract store from there as well. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you again next week.